What are some hard to swallow pills about relationships? At a certain point, you have to accept some particular negative parts of your partner's personality or move on. My husband is almost 50. We've been married for over 20 years. While he will continue to experience personal growth, there are parts of his personality that are likely to not ever change. The same is true for myself, of course. In a good marriage, it helps to be a little deaf. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Putting off ending things for fear of hurting someone's feelings is the worst possible idea. If the relationship isn't right and you know you don't want to be together, then sparing someone's feelings in the short term only leads to more pain later down the line. Be honest and front the horrible conversation. This is something I'm struggling with right now. They are a great person and I don't want to hurt them, but I think my feelings have changed. It makes me sad and a little sick to my stomach to even think about hurting her. Losing your identity within a relationship is easy to do. Finding it again isn't. Remember to keep your friends and hobbies. After my last relationship ended, I felt guilty for not hurting. I was kind of happy, back in my garage, working on cars with my friends. Took a few road trips. My phone was quiet. Crap was cool. Not everyone will value your relationship like you do. It's very important to make sure you both have the same expectations and values. Otherwise, like two unequally yoked animals, you will continue to walk in circles over the same ground. Your partner should be kind to you and vice versa. It's not okay for your partner to scream at you or curse you out or deliberately hurt your feelings. This isn't to say that it never ever happens. We all are human and occasionally we mess up. But if they are not consistently kind to you, if they aren't sorry when they are mean, and if they repeat it, then that's a problem. If you wouldn't accept the behavior from a friend, then you absolutely should not accept it from a partner. The idea that it's normal for your partner to be mean to you is so freaking bad, and I've seen way too many people accept crappy relationships because they think love means never having to say sorry and that getting screamed at is acceptable. If you wouldn't accept the behavior from a friend, then you absolutely should not accept it from a partner. I think that's a very good rule of thumb. Just because it's a romantic relationship shouldn't mean you have to put up with abusive behavior. When you decide to commit to your person, you are sacrificing your fantasy of being with them. In the crushing or beginning stages of a relationship, we are idealizing them as more perfect than they are. But we all have our faults, and in choosing to be together we are met with reality versus fantasy. From the Fundamentalists podcast titled Engagement. It takes two to be in a relationship. If one person is putting in all the effort and the other isn't, it's eventually all going to fall apart when the one who is giving the effort stops. Great relationships are mutual. They aren't going to magically know you're upset with them. They aren't going to read your passive-aggressive signs. They aren't going to pick up on that. Be direct. If you are upset, talk to your partner about it. Not your friends. Not your parents. Not strangers on the internet. Your partner. Not communicating can lead to rifts that never seal. You should not be anxious about the relationship all the time. You shouldn't be stressed about if they love you or if they're going to leave you or if they're out cheating on you or what they're thinking. It shouldn't be a major source of stress. In fact, if it's a good partnership, both of your lives should be easier. The old adage about relationships being hard work isn't really accurate. Being with them shouldn't be hard or a battle. It's more accurate to say that a good relationship takes effort, like you should both be striving for open communication, handle conflicts in a healthy way, make each other happy, but it shouldn't be exhausting or hard or stressful to be with them. They should be a source of comfort. Sometimes things don't work, even if both parties are objectively wonderful people, even if they love each other and enjoy their lives together. Sometimes things just get in the way and force you to make a hard choice. This hit too hard. I broke up with my long-term boyfriend yesterday because neither of us were willing to uproot our lives to move states. We loved each other deeply and were so happy together. It hurts, man. You can't look for someone else to be your other half. You have to learn how to be a whole person on your own. This means being able to take care of your own emotional needs, too. Once you get beyond the initial lust heart fluttery part of a romantic relationship, you begin to realize that love looks a lot different than the rom-com movies. It's not embracing in the pouring rain, kissing under the Eiffel Tower, trying to board the plane to convince them not to go. It's handing them a box of Cheez-Its when they get home from a 12-hour shift and are too exhausted to move. It's driving them to the airport at 3 a.m. for their dream job interview. It's managing their prescriptions when they get too sick to do it themselves. Relationships are often unglamorous, and while a committed relationship can be very rewarding, there's more to it than you and your hot partner canoodling and going on trips for the rest of your lives. Relationships can take a lot of work, some of it that you will never see coming in the early days. I've been with my husband 9 years, married for 4. I'm at a point where rom-com relationships don't even look desirable to me. LOL. They're too crazy and over the top. Lots of people are actually looking for contradictions in relationships. As Bo Burnham put it, you want someone insanely hot, but not someone obsessed with their looks. You want someone sensitive but not weak. A lot of people want someone who won't use them for anything, but who they can use themselves to fulfill their own needs or desires. I think the worst part of growing up for me has been the utter realization that lots of people want to use who they can to fit their own ends. It's not exactly always malicious, just practical. You grow more sensible as you age, and so you're less willing to tolerate relationships of any kind where you don't derive some sort of benefit. The result for me has been that I'm less trusting and more guarded, which only hinders finding genuine connections in love or friendship. Now all I hear in my head is a good boy, a bad boy, a good bad boy, a half good, half bad, half boy. When you look at someone with rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags. It's easy to dismiss toxic characteristics because of love. Sometimes you won't get that clarity until you're safe distance away. Surprised the BoJack Horseman quote was so far down. The ebb and flow of it all. As a teen you chase the butterflies high of relationships. As an adult you have to learn that as your hormones settle, you need settle too, and not constantly be seeking the highs and creating conflict to achieve them. Even though the highs are addicting, you need to learn to be good with the chill times, the comfort, the ease. Don't lose the butterflies completely, of course, but don't create them with negative behavior. Create them by pulling your partner in for a long passionate kiss instead of the normal goodbye or hello peck, or by planning a date or a fun new activity to experience together. Keep each other on your toes in a good way, but be okay when things are just a so. Love isn't everything. At least not love as most people interpret it. I wouldn't even say it necessarily takes work. Two people can love each other deeply while being terrible for each other, treating each other poorly, etc. All the love in the world doesn't compensate for lack of growth. If both people aren't growing and evolving over time, if the relationship doesn't foster growth and security, then love simply is irrelevant. It should go without saying, but you should always be on the same team, never adversarial. Love isn't merely a feeling, it's a dedication. It means caring about something more than yourself, and that's how it can persist even in the face of spite and strife. If you only stick around when it's easy, that's not love, that's convenience. Relationships do not have an instruction manual. Relationships are whatever the people involved want it to be. Sometimes what your soul wants is drastically different than what you want. No matter how much you love each other, you might not get past the differences. People keep changing as their life goes on, and there are no guarantees that you and your partner will change in compatible ways. Someone can be your soulmate today, but in a year the person they've become may not be the soulmate of the person you've become. While you shouldn't simply give up on a relationship the moment you hit a rough patch, you also shouldn't let a happy past keep you in a miserable present. Works for close friendships as well. Well put. If someone is gonna cheat, there is no stopping them by checking their phone, messages, where they go or whatever. They are gonna cheat regardless. Loving someone and being loved puts you in a position of mutual responsibility. Your actions affect the other person's emotions, and to some degree you are now accountable for how they feel. You need to be willing to make compromises because you value your partner's happiness and respect their needs. A good relationship is built on mutual responsibility and respect and is not unconditional. Everybody has a past life, history, things you may not like. It's easy to love all of their great experiences, but it can be challenging to accept some of their past life that disturbs you or you worry may be a problem still. A very challenging part of relationships is getting out of your head on who they used to be and focus more on who they are now and how they make you feel. Also, don't pry too much in their past if they aren't comfortable to share it at the moment. Some people need time to open up about themselves. At the same time, be careful of people that never talk anything about their past. The person you're going to spend every day of the rest of your life with will be the person who is okay with you not wanting to hang out because you are hanging out with your friends or partaking in a hobby day. Doesn't get mad if you can't interact with them 24/7. 365 challenges you to be better as a partner, at work, in your hobby, as a parent, as a friend, in literally everything. But challenges you not out of shame or self-worth, but because they motivate you. This is a key. Maybe doesn't share your interests but is willing to listen to you discuss them, and likewise, you do the same for them. It's much easier, and in many solid ways much better, if you come into the relationship similar in many ways. That doesn't have to mean culture or race or nationality, although many aspects of personalities are tied to these things. What I mean is love language, idea of cleanliness, general political philosophy, how to resolve an argument, big things. I had a long relationship with someone who was a really good person, but he was just not affectionate. He did his best to do what I needed and I did my best to accept that he showed he liked me in other ways. Realistically, I spent years feeling clingy and ugly and he felt years feeling annoyed and more reluctant to show love. When I met and started dating my current boyfriend 3.5 years, he was affectionate. So was I. He needed alone time sometimes, so he understood when I did too. He'd been clinically depressed and got it in a way nobody else ever has. At least nobody I've lived with. He was weird too. He was open to dark and light stuff in the same conversation too. Relevant to my job. If I love someone I will work with them. And there's absolutely a trope that relationships take work. I can't argue with that. But I can't express how freaking easy and joyful it has been to find someone with whom I never have to have the please don't yell at me sorry I'm messy let's work on resolving this another way conversation in the first place. We've had our share of arguments, enough to know that I can communicate with him, but all of the little differences that can get between us just don't exist. So we start from a simple, good place. It's simple and good along the way, and by the time we hit a bump, no little resentments have built up. That turned into a novel. But I just wanted to say, it's okay to acknowledge that working harder for a relationship doesn't make it better. I sometimes feel badly saying this to friends, because on the surface it sounds like we're not willing to work for each other at all. But actually what it means is that we lucked into a smooth and not a bumpy road. If you can find someone you love and who is similar to you in large and small ways, I encourage you to do so. Over the course of 10 years, the person you fell in love with could transform into someone you'd never have gone on a second date with had they been that way when you met. Life's too short to set yourself on fire to keep somebody else warm. Adding on to this, if things change don't try to force the relationship into what it used to be or force things to stay the same. People change, situations change, and trying to force things will only make everyone involved miserable. It's not sunshine and burritos every day. Sometimes you'll screw up, sometimes they'll screw up. The relationships that are meant to last can and will get over every obstacle in their path. And you know a relationship is meant to last when you're terrified of losing it even in times of struggle. Relationships aren't magical be all and end all cures for mental illness. I have seen depressed people walk into a relationship and destroy the people. In lifeguarding classes one of the first things we learned was drowning people are scared and desperate, and will climb on top of you to try and survive. Do not sacrifice yourself to save someone. The only thing worse than a drowned person is two drowned people. Love, and the oxytocin dependency that comes with it, can keep people together through almost anything, including mutual abuse, suffering, boredom and misery. Relationships can work based on mutual respect and connection, but the person next to you might not be your soulmate, just someone you care about and get along with. A lot of it is boring. The magical moments and massive I love you so much posts on social media are like 2% of the time. A majority of a relationship is just everyday living. Your idea of a perfect relationship is the small sliver of it that TV, movies, and social media have led you to believe you gotta look forward to sitting on the couch in sweatpants after eating so much stir fry you're both farting non-stop. You can meet the perfect person, but if it's not the right time, it's not going to work. The more time you spend crushing on someone, the less likely you will get to know them. Your brain will fill in the gaps with your fantasies, and they will not live up to your dreams. You will both change. It will not be the same forever. Learn to adapt your relationship. At some point one of you will have to sacrifice your job for the other. Is it worth it to you? Kids make it harder, not easier. You cannot change them. If you need a project, get a hobby. The right person may be someone you would never expect. Don't make choices based on your prejudices. It's not going to be perfect. Deal with it. And the only rules that matter are the rules you both agree to. Sometimes you can be perfect for each other, and it still won't work out. I dated someone amazing before COVID, who really was everything I was looking for, and so, during the first couple months of the lockdown all her friends made plans to move, so she decided she needed to as well, to stay with people she cared about. I encouraged and agree with that decision. You need to be around people who care about you, not just who you're dating. It still sucks that real, long-term relationships require a lot of forgiveness. This isn't to say that abuse, cheating, disrespect or anything within that realm should be tolerated, but sometimes people genuinely frick up. Sometimes your partner will say or do things that are less than favorable to you. There were many times when I wanted to hold on to things my partner did in the past, but finally acknowledging that holding grudges only hurts my relationship was the best thing I could have done for myself. Just because you still love your partner doesn't mean they also still love you. And if they don't, they're under no obligation to stay in the relationship, no matter how much it hurts you when they leave. Relationships are a two-way street. Sometimes you just want some space, a little bit of peace and quiet, alone time. It doesn't mean they love you any less. Sometimes people just need some time to themselves. You do not need to spend 24 hours a day together doing stuff together. I once told my brother that someone I dated turned out to be crazy. She was the batshit variety. His response was, relationships are about realizing what level of crazy you are willing to put up with. It stuck with me. It is work. It's not just happily ever after and you're happy forever. But if you're willing to put in the effort, it's very worth it. In my experience anyway. Anyone expecting to be treated like royalty in exchange for their mere presence isn't mature enough for a relationship. You only get out what you put in. Not loving anymore your partner is not an excuse for cheating. If you are not happy in a relationship, leave, and then you can pursue a new love interest. Also, if someone cheats on his spouse with someone, it's very likely he will cheat again in the new relationship when the excitement is over. I'm surprised that this is so low. Cheating is never the answer. You'll just be hurting people in the process. That love is never gonna be the same as when you first fall in love with each other, aka puppy love. Love changes, just as you and your partner change. The key is to communicate how you feel, even if you rather wouldn't, and work on making it work together. Sometimes you or your partner wants to have some alone time. Other days you'll want to spend the entire day together, at home, or going on a date. Your partner, or you, can one day just not love you anymore, and there is nothing you can do about it. If this happens to you, I hope you find peace faster than I do. Not everyone, heck, probably most people, are not equipped to deal with a relationship after the honeymoon period ends. He's never changed a diaper, doesn't know how to feed them, has never dealt with a night wake up and I do all the housework and work full time. I'm at the end of my rope, but I don't want to leave him. He's such a great father. He's not a great father. A great father doesn't just play with the kid when the mood strikes him. A great father is an equal caregiver because he loves his kids and wants to do things for them. Happy wife, happy life is bulls. Just because one is happy, doesn't mean the other one is too. Happy house, happy spouse is the way to go. Once you're committed, don't plan on simply having good and bad days. Plan on good and bad years. That being said, relationships should not be hard. Times are hard, but the relationships shouldn't be. The person you're with should be easy for you to be with, for the most part. If you hadn't met your partner, they would probably be equally happy with someone else. You would also probably be equally happy with someone else. You are with your partner because you are compatible in whatever ways matter to you, but it is insane to think there is only one person who you could be compatible with. Around a year and a half in, maybe 2 maximum, you're gonna have that moment where your feelings towards them shift from limerence, that heady in love feeling, to actual long-term love, or to nothing at all. Nobody gets out of that. Everybody gets to that point. But that's not the hard to swallow part. The hard to swallow part is that, after that, love isn't something that just happens to you. It's something that you both do. It stops being a noun and becomes a verb. It becomes a lot more difficult, but a lot more rewarding too. Also way harder to get over. So, well, be aware of that. That sometimes, you aren't in a good enough spot in your life to start a healthy relationship even if you really want to. This also means you need to have reasonably decent social skills in order to maintain a relationship. I see so many people looking for another person to fix their problems when they should be fixing their own problems in order to be dateable. A great question to ask yourself is, would I date myself if I was attracted to people of my gender? If not, what would I need to change to become dateable? If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.